Femo was known as a guy who had arrived. That was what people said whenever his name came up. He dressed well, spoke boldly, and moved with confidence that made others step aside. When he entered a place, he acted like he owned it. He talked down on people, snapped his fingers at waiters, and laughed loudly as if nothing in life could touch him. Women noticed him easily, not because he was kind, but because he looked settled. What people did not know was his life was full of lies. Let's go back to how it all began. Femo was born in a village where nobody pretended. Life was not easy, but it was honest. People woke up early, worked hard, and returned home tired. If someone was poor, it showed. If someone was managing, it also showed. Nobody was ashamed of where they stood. Femo grew up watching adults talk openly about their struggles, their plans, and their limitations. As a young boy, he was quiet and observant. He noticed things people didn't think children paid attention to. He noticed how visitors who came from far places were treated with respect, how people listened when they spoke, how chairs were offered quickly to them. These visitors did not shout or boast. They simply existed, and people adjusted around them. Femo did not understand it fully then, but something about it stayed with him. As he grew older, the desire to leave the village became stronger, not because he hated where he came from, but because he feared becoming invisible. He did not want to be one of those people who lived their whole lives in the village without being heard. When the time came for him to travel to the city, his mother prayed over him and warned him not to lose himself in the process of chasing a better life. She told him that some people change outside, not because they are wicked, but because they are afraid. Femo nodded and promised. At that moment, he believed himself completely. Life in the city was different from what Femo imagined. It was noisy, crowded, and fast. People moved like they were late for something important, and nobody waited for anyone. At first, Femo was hopeful. He took small jobs, stayed in places he could barely call home, and tried to survive honestly. But slowly, he noticed something painful. Nobody paid attention to effort. Nobody asked how long he had been trying. People only reacted to what they saw. If you looked settled, people listened. If you didn't, they brushed past you. What hurt Femo the most was not hunger. It was the feeling of being ignored. He would greet people and receive half-hearted responses. He would speak and be talked over. He noticed how quickly things changed when someone else arrived looking comfortable. Respect followed appearance. That realization did not make him angry. It made him think, and that thinking began to change him quietly. Femo did not suddenly decide to live a fake life. It started with a simple desire to belong, to sit among people without feeling small. One day, a friend lent him a good shirt for an outing. That night, everything felt different. People spoke to him longer, they laughed with him, they asked him questions. Nobody ignored him. When he returned the shirt and stepped out again as himself, the difference was clear and painful. That contrast disturbed him deeply. He began to think about why respect came so easily when appearance changed. He did not rush into pretending, but the thought stayed with him. He began to believe that maybe truth alone was not enough in this place. That belief was the seed that changed everything. The first time Femo borrowed a car, he knew exactly what he was doing. It was not an accident. He wanted to see what would happen. And what happened shocked him. People greeted him differently. Doors opened easily. Security men smiled. Nobody asked questions. That feeling stayed with him long after he returned the car. From that day, borrowing became a tool. He borrowed for outings, for gatherings, for moments he wanted to be seen. At this stage, Femo was still careful. He did not shout, he did not insult people. He simply enjoyed the respect. But inside him, something dangerous was growing, the belief that appearance could replace truth. Over time, borrowing stopped feeling embarrassing. It became normal. Femo planned his days around it. He borrowed clothes, shoes, watches, and cars. Sometimes, after returning a borrowed car late at night, he would sleep inside it because he had nowhere else to go. In the morning, he would wake up, freshen up, and step out confidently like a man with options. Slowly, gratitude left him. Entitlement replaced it. When friends hesitated to lend him things, he felt offended. He began to believe he deserved respect, and when people gave it to him, he started to enjoy it too much. Arrogance did not come suddenly. It arrived quietly and stayed. Femo started raising his voice in public. He snapped at people. He treated waiters, drivers, and attendants like they were beneath him. He laughed loudly and spoke down to others. The louder he became, the safer he felt. Arrogance became his shield. People around him began to notice the change. Some admired it, some feared it, but nobody questioned him openly, and that silence encouraged him. One day, Femo met Damilola when his image was complete. He looked settled, he behaved like someone used to control. Damilola came from a comfortable background and was not easily impressed, but she noticed his confidence. Femo was careful with her. He did not brag. He allowed assumptions to do the work. Their relationship grew slowly. Femo enjoyed being seen with her. It strengthened his image. But being with Damilola required consistency, and consistency was expensive. His borrowing increased. His lies deepened. They went on different night dates. One night, they went out on a date, and something unimaginable. That night, in the lounge, exposed everything. The waitress mistakenly spilled wine on Femo's shirt. Femo lost control. He poured the drink on her face and shouted loudly, asking if she knew who he was. He screamed that he could pay her 1 year's salary, that one call could end her job. The room went silent. People stared. Damilola begged him to calm down, yet his voice was all over the place. That night, Damilola did not sleep well. She replayed the scene over and over in her mind. It wasn't just the shouting, it was how natural it came to him, the ease with which he humiliated someone. She began to remember other moments she had ignored. The sharp tone, the impatience, the way he spoke about people. She told herself she might be overthinking. She loved him, and love sometimes covers things it shouldn't. Still, doubt had entered her heart. Their relationship continued. Femo apologized. As their relationship grew, Femo's life became a series of careful arrangements. Every outing required borrowing. Every visit required planning. Every question required thought. At night, guilt sometimes came, but fear chased it away. He was afraid that if Damilola knew the truth, she would leave immediately. Femo convinced himself that marriage would solve everything. He believed that once he married into stability, life would somehow arrange itself. He did not see himself as a bad person, just a man trying to survive in a world that respected appearance more than truth. As months passed, Femo married Damilola. The wedding was beautiful, carefully planned and admired by many. People congratulated Femo on making it. He smiled for pictures, shook hands confidently, and played his role well. But beneath the celebration, fear lived quietly in his chest. The money used to fund the ceremony did not come from him. Damilola's family supported her daughter heavily in her marriage, and he knew it. The applause did not change his reality, it only increased expectations. Marriage stripped away the comfort of pretending. Bills arrived without emotion. Lifestyle demanded consistency. Damilola expected stability, not stories. Femo began to struggle. His confidence faded. Where he once spoke smoothly, he now avoided discussions. Frustration replaced charm. Damilola noticed the shift, but hoped it was stress, not deception. She waited for things to improve, unaware that there was nothing real to improve from. Truth does not rush, it waits. Damilola began to notice patterns that did not align. Money that never stayed, calls that sounded rehearsed, explanations that changed with time. One day, without anger, without noise, she followed Femo quietly. What she saw broke her heart. The borrowed car, the place he truly lived, the life he had hidden so carefully. When confronted, Femo had nothing left to say. The lies collapsed under their own weight. Damilola was not angry because he was poor. She was wounded because he had stolen her choice. She had married a man she did not truly know. Trust shattered, and with it, the foundation of their union. The same people who once admired Femo became distant. Respect faded quietly. The image he worked so hard to maintain disappeared overnight. The city did not mock him, it simply moved on. Damilola's family felt embarrassed, not by his lack, but by his dishonesty. The marriage could not survive the truth that arrived too late. Damilola left him and returned to her family. Femo returned to his small room heavier than before, not because he had lost wealth, but because he had lost himself. The silence was louder now. The applause was gone, and for the first time he saw clearly that the city never accepted him, it only admired what he pretended to be. Femo reflected deeply. He realized he had traded peace for approval, truth for attention, and patience for shortcuts. He saw how pretending had cost him something more valuable than money: integrity. Slowly, painfully, he began to rebuild, not his image, but his character. There were no shortcuts this time, no applause, no borrowed comfort, just slow, honest growth. It was humbling, but it was real. For the first time in a long while, he slept without fear of exposure. Some lessons do not shout, they stay with you quietly. Femo learned that pretending to be rich is more expensive than being poor, because lies demand constant maintenance. Truth, though lonely at first, gives rest. And so, the elders say, and borrowed life always returns to its owner, but the shame stays with the borrower.